It has been almost 2 years since I started work on Power Car 2066, and now my 19th HO Scale Union Pacific Heritage Fleet car is finally finished. This is a unique looking car because of its dome-like structure necessary to house the cooling systems for 2 diesel-powered generators. American Car and Foundry built the prototype which started life as Postal Storage Car 5816. In the early 70s, it was converted to a tool car, then finally to today's configuration in 2004. This power car has twice the electrical capacity of the other individual power cars in the Heritage fleet. The power generation consumes half of the floor space of the car. The remaining space houses a walk-in cooler and freezer, storage for a commissary, and a one-person crew room with a bath and shower. I started the project with a Walthers UP city baggage car. The factory sides were removed and replaced with new sides from Union Station products. I covered that process in more detail in my video about the Colorado Eagle. A link is included in the comments. With the new sides painted and installed on the core, I turned my attention to the bottom of the car. The most prominent feature is the fuel tank, so it was scratch built from styrene using pictures and screenshots from video to determine dimensions. Next was the water tank near the center of the car, then the various cabinets, equipment boxes, and smaller tanks. The air conditioning compressor and smaller detail parts were built and installed last. Paint and clear coat completed the bottom. Now I turn my attention to the interior of the car to install the windows and tint, weights, tube diaphragm attachments, sound car decoder, and speaker enclosure. The enclosure is placed so the sound would exit through the various exhausts and vents on the top of the car. The easy part was done, so now the fun started. I did purchase a 3D printed roof piece from N3DPM at shapeways.com. The plan was to use it as the base for the roof and install the latches from the Walthers roof to hold it to the rest of the car. First thing I noticed upon receipt of the part was that the plastic was very rough and hard to sand smooth. In addition, there were significant dimensional errors in just about every way to measure. These errors were in overall dimensions, radiator sizes and placement, exhaust size and placement, etc. Plan B came together quickly. I cut the Shapeways part so that only the sloped ends and the top remained. Even with this little portion remaining of the original part, I had to add about a ½ inch in length, cut out the area of the exhaust, and enlarge the radiators. Next I added the sides to complete the side dome shape. Cutouts for the side air intakes for the radiators are made, then internal bracing was put in place to hold the overall shape straight and square. The entire piece was sanded and primed repeatedly until the 3D printed plastic was completely smooth. I considered many ways to replicate the grills, like 3D printing or etching custom metal parts. In my parts bin I had a few pieces left over from the grill I made for the Howard Fog. While not perfect, it was very close to what I needed, and ordered 2 more sets of the Detail Associates GE-8-40B etched metal grill sets. The grill pieces have to be cut and glued to the right size before installing. This method was used for the side grills as well as the radiator grills on top. A piece of speaker grill cloth was placed about 3/16 below the exhaust and radiator and 1/8 inch behind the side grills. This gives depth behind the grills like the prototype and easily allows the sound out. Next it was time to mount the dome structure to the factory Walthers roof. Several holes were cut in the roof to allow the bracing to fit and the sound a path to go out. The 2 pieces were glued together and small amounts of putty were used to ensure a smooth transition between the bonded pieces. Additional grills and trim pieces of styrene were then added. Micromark rivet decals were placed for prototype pictures on the top and side of the dome piece. The rivets were sealed with matte clear. Nearing completion, the final rooftop details were added and the entire roof painted Harbor Mist Gray. Every prototype picture or video I have seen shows the area around the exhaust and radiators suety black, so I sprayed thin black in these areas. The black satellite antenna and the 3 white planar antennas were added and 2 coats of clear sprayed everywhere except the sooty area. Powdered chalks finished off the weathering. Well over 100 hours went into this project. It is interesting to note that during the time I was working on this car, UP had added an additional cabinet underneath and made several changes to the antennas on the roof. The original satellite antenna was removed and a new one added. In addition, 3 planar antennas were added, which are for the train Wi-Fi network. In hindsight, I would not use a 3D printed part if I had to do it all over again. I would use the same method I used to scratch build the Jim Adams water car, which uses bulkhead, stringers, and skin, much like an aircraft is constructed. Links to my previous projects are in the comments. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to keep up with my latest projects as I continue to model more equipment in the Union Pacific Heritage Fleet.